And coming in at number 11 on our Locked On Senators NHL draft rankings with an average of 10.71, which is probably less than his wingspan, we got 6'6" defenseman Radim Mrtka of the Seattle Thunderbirds.
Yeah, this guy is a big defenseman. What's the combine weight on him, Ross? Can you pull it up for me? I don't have it on me.
We've got 6'6", 218.
6'6", 218. Yeah, so big player. And he started very interesting path for Radim Mrtka here. He's a Czech player. He started this season out in the Czech league. Well, playing in Czechia. I'm not sure if he started U20 or where he started here. But he played 10 games in the U20 Czechia League, got 4 assists there. And he also played 10 games in the Czechia Pro League, only 1 assist, a -2. And Scott Wheeler mentioned in his write-up of him that apparently Radim Mrtka wanted to start with the Seattle Thunderbirds right from the get-go, but he was under contract in Czechia, so he didn't really have a choice. And then I think mutually, him and the team didn't really see eye to eye on where and how much he should be playing. So he went to the team and said, look, if you're not going to be playing me, this is a big year for me. This is my draft year. I've got an opportunity to play in North America, to play big minutes. And he did play big minutes. I'm pretty sure his debut with the Thunderbirds, he played like 28 minutes. They got him going right off the hop. So they both agreed, all right, let's not waste anyone's time here. Just go to Seattle. And things worked out for him with the Thunderbirds in 43 games, 3 goals, 32 assists for 35 points, a +10. And he also played U18. So this guy was everywhere and had 4 points in 5 games.
He was everywhere. And he was not only that, but he was in Washington State, where I think he's going to end up. Now, no spoilers on the mock draft, but it just feels like a team that could use exactly what he brings, the Seattle Kraken. In our rankings, he's ranked as high as 7th overall. The Kraken draft 8th. It's Scott Wheeler that thinks that Radim Mrtka is the 7th best player in this draft class. Craig Button and McKean's Hockey have him at 9th overall. Locked On NHL Prospects at 11th. Then Bob McKenzie at 12. Corey Pronman at 12. And Elite Prospects, the lowest on him, down at 15th overall. Where do you split the difference on those guys?
I think where we got him is good, Ross, at 11, maybe even closer to 9 or 10. I would bump him up a little bit just because he is the best right shot defenseman in this draft, and that's coveted big time. And he's got a pro frame at 6'6", 218, like we talked about. But I do think if you're looking at Radim Mrtka, you're looking at a guy that's going to be a shutdown player in the NHL. Now, he did play both penalty kill and power play for the Thunderbirds. I don't think we're going to see him playing power play in the pro leagues. EP loves his defensive game. The scout polls have him as the best shutdown defenseman in the draft. I would agree. He uses that big 6'6" frame to keep guys wide. They mention even when guys get around him with speed, he's like, okay, cool, you might get around me, but I'm not letting you cut to the middle. I'm using my stick and my range to keep you wide, and you're going to have to figure it out, often forcing those speedy guys coming down the wing to rush all the way around the net. And he uses his stick to poke pucks, intercept passes. So I agree with you, Ross. I think it would be crazy for the Seattle Kraken not to draft this guy. What do they have? 8th overall?
8th overall.
Yeah. And I mean, how many times are they going to take a centerman with one of their top picks? This is a high quality and quantity centerman draft. But I think if you're the Seattle Kraken, this guy's developing in your backyard. He's got size. He's going to be a shutdown player. They like those guys. Think of Adam Larson, a guy that they really like on that team.
He's probably more Jamie Alexiak, but with a right shot.
That's another great example. Yeah. So the Seattle likes these types of players. Why not draft and develop one in your own city? It just makes too much sense for them to take him.
And because he's Czechia native, he is able to kind of move around if they don't want him back in Seattle. But I think that it's a great spot for him. With him and Braden
he's staying
Coots,
there, I think.
Who he just covered recently. They can be a much better team than they were this season. Next, and everything that they do, as Pilsy alluded to, runs through Mrtka on the back end. He's physical, but not in kind of a punishing, like he's not going to go out there and lay a big head and take you out in the middle of the ice. But where Elite Prospect says he uses his physicality is to win retrievals. If you guys are going into the boards together, he's going to be able to use that big frame, angle you off, stick his ass out, push you off the puck, and get the ability to skate away with it. Now, pace is the one thing that Elite Prospects keeps referring to as why he's not ranked higher than 15th. They say he has flashes of it, but that on a nightly basis, he might not have as much pace as he will need if he's going to play the same amount of minutes any given night in the NHL. I think that's probably more of a minor qualm than something that you can't teach and develop over time. But it's just worth pointing out why Elite Prospects has him lower than anybody else on our rankings. I'm high-ish on Radim Mrtka. You made a great point about right shot defenseman always finding a way to kind of slip up the draft into the top 15, top 10 even. And he's got the size that scouts love. He's got to compete. Obviously, he wasn't happy with his situation in Czechia. Well, do something about it then. Come over, play great. I like Radim Mrtka, but how many Sens stars do you have for the 6'6" right shot D-man?
Just quickly, though, Ross, I think the pace comment, obviously it's fair, but when you're a big shutdown defenseman, I think you can get kind of lulled into this feeling that he doesn't play with pace because he's just shutting down plays and slowing the game down overall. And I think it maybe makes it seem like he doesn't have a lot of pace, which still could be true. But for me, I don't see that as a disadvantage or a flaw for Mrtka. And typically when you talk about pace issues, it's mirrored to skating issues. But Wheeler says he's an extremely good skater. So I don't think that's an issue for me. I'm not sure how high his ceiling is, but he's got so many pro skills already. He's going to play in the pros for sure. I see him as a second pair shutdown defenseman. I got him at 4.5 stars, Ross. Now, obviously, the Sens are not going to have an opportunity to draft him, but if you look at if the Sens had an opportunity to draft him, you got Yakimchuk, the dynamic offensive defenseman that also plays a physical game, and then you get a massive just tree on your second pair that's just going to shut plays down, and maybe you put him with a guy like Thomas Chabot, and that lets Chabot do his thing. That would make a lot of sense for me. So I'm a fan of Radim Mrtka.
So in your final draft rankings, which will be unveiled the day before the draft on Locked On Senators, you'll have Radim Mrtka as the second defenseman behind Matthew Schaefer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So ahead of Jackson Smith.
Yeah.
Ahead of Kashawn Aitchison.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm still undecided, but you'll have to wait and see. But with an average ranking of 10.71, Radim Mrtka comes in at number 11 on our Locked On Senators NHL draft rankings, which you can find each and every one available on YouTube.